In 1932, the U.S. Public Health Service began conducting a study on the African American men of Macon County, Alabama. While the men volunteered to be treated for bad blood, they were never informed of the true nature of the experiment. An ongoing study which would last until the mid-70s to see what would happen in untreated syphilis in a black community. This deplorable and racialized study went largely ignored by a scientific, medical, and scholarly community for more than 40 years. Join me and my friend Stanley as we find out what the hell is wrong with people in the Tuskegee experiment.
I wonder if I can put something over that.
And we're back for another episode on the Tuskegee experiment. And I'm back with Mr. Stanley. I didn't invite anyone else yet again. Cheers to you guys. Cheers to you, Mr. Stanley.
Cheers to me.
Oh, I'm not showcasing products appropriately. There we go.
Cheers.
Cheers. So, everybody, welcome back to... I can't remember what number episode this is. That's how long of a break I've taken. It's been 3 weeks. I'm a terrible person. I'm sorry. It'll never happen again. Please don't hate me.
I think episode 7 was the last one to me. It's episode 8.
I think this might be 9. Yeah, it's 9 because last one was 8, and I specifically said it's unremarkable. So episode 9.
Oh right, because episode 7 was a big deal. Yes,
episode 7 was a big deal, dude. It's 7, dude. Just wait till we get to 14. We're doing something crazy, something absolutely crazy. Not much is new with my life except for work is busy and life is busy, and also the emotions hit. And then what do you do? What do you do when they hit? Mr. Stanley?
What?
The emotions, yeah, they hit you. What do you do?
Usually cry.
Yeah.
Watch a sad movie.
Totally. And cry. Yeah. Or binge watch Netflix. Man, so just real quick before we jump into the experiment, I've been watching Netflix again, and this is a curse. I always I take my TV out of my room because otherwise it's just like too much of a distraction. It's not good having it in there. Like the computer doesn't do the same thing because I have to sit in a chair, but if you can like lay in bed and see the TV, oh my God, it's a curse. And then Netflix does that thing where it's like, don't worry, I'll play the next one for you. Holy shit.
Right?
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Not
it's like,
good
oh, I should
for
get up
me.
and do something, then it just plays the next episode. You're like, oh, just sit here and watch one more.
Yeah, 100%. And then there's some like added work stress, but then you couple that with like Netflix just like kind of keeping you up. Like you'd be, I'm sleepy. I'm gonna fall asleep during this episode, and then like something hooks you, and you're, I am awake now, and I'm watching you.
Mm-hmm.
And I watch like some shows. I watched this one called Fate, the Minx Saga, and it's actually garbage. It's not worth watching at all. 0% recommend to anybody, but I just can't help it. I watched the whole thing, and I was like, wow, that was amazingly disappointing. I think I watched it all in one night. Like, seriously. And I don't have much time to myself. So I was up to like 1:32 in the morning. Okay, that's it. I have to close this thing because people are dumb.
So is that your Facebook notifications going off?
I'm going to edit that out. No one's going to know. But yeah, totally. It was just like popped up on the wrong screen too. How do I, here it is. Is there not a settings wheel? Give me the settings. Give me the settings, bro. File, messenger, preferences. Edit, view. This all makes no sense. Oh my God.
The Tuskegee experiment. Well, you fuck with that. Can I do a slight introduction on the...
Yeah, absolutely. You go for it, and I'm not even going to worry about it. Sorry if it dings people. I did not prepare because I'm... Yeah.
I'm sure anybody that watches it will accept that as it's a flaw in the system. All right, so let's start with the Wikipedia page because it's actually pretty informative, very well written, because Wikipedia is fucking incredible, and the guy that contributes 90% of this is a boss. You should donate to Wikipedia.
Should you?
$3 a month. You should.
Really?
I do.
Okay. Oh, wow.
It's like $4 a month or something like that. It's not much, but anyway. Continuing. So, the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male, informally referred to as the Tuskegee experiment or the Tuskegee syphilis study. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It could be Tuskegee or Tuskegee. I'm saying Tuskegee. Anyway, was an ethically abusive study conducted between 1932 and 1972 by the United States Public Health Service, PHS, and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, on a group of nearly 400 African Americans with syphilis. The purpose of the study was to observe the effects of the disease when untreated, though by the the end of the study, it was entirely treatable. The men were not informed of the nature of the experiment, and more than 100 died as a result.
Yes, also known as racist scientists.
Yeah, human experimentation at its finest.
Yeah, my God. I hate that like how long it ran too, because it ran again
40
post
years.
Geneva Convention. Like we make these rules for a reason. If you violate them as a country, you're supposed to be subject to consequences. But powerful countries always get away with it. Russia, China, America.
Well, and like none of these scientists even got any sort of reprimand officially. They just kind of disappeared completely under the radar.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, like they contributed to like modern textbooks, guaranteed. Someone used their work, read it, did stuff, things.
Probably.
And they still can't do anything about syphilis. That one's uncurable, right?
No, it's treatable.
It's treatable, yeah, but it's not curable. It's what you end up with like ulcers in your cervix and stuff. What do they call them? What do they call them? Lesions. You get lesions. It's one of the lesions. Syphilis is bad. Yeah. Oh my God. Conspiracy podcasts are hard because we just cover how terrible people are. I'll jump in on this next paragraph here. The Public Health Service started the study in 1932 in collaboration with Tuskegee University, then the Tuskegee Institute, a historically black college in Alabama. In the study, investigators enrolled in a total of 600 impoverished African American sharecroppers from Macon County, Alabama. Of these men, 399 had latent syphilis, with a control group of 201 men who were not infected. As an incentive for participation in the study, the men were promised free medical care. While the men were provided both medical and mental care they otherwise would not have received, they were deceived by the PHS, who never informed them of their syphilis diagnosis, and provided disguised placebos, ineffective methods, and diagnostic procedures as a treatment for bad blood.
Yeah, which is, as an aside, that's all they told them what it was. It's to say, oh, you have bad blood. They wouldn't give them any specifics, just generally, you have bad blood. Like, what nonsense is that? It's the 30s, though, so, like, these guys didn't know fucking anything.
Yeah, 100%. Y'all got bad blood. Let me go home to my cousin.
Like, fuck.
My cousin's sister.
That's crazy. All right. I'll punch through the next two paragraphs because they're both short.
Perfect.
The men were initially told that the experiment was only going to last 6 months, but it was extended to 40 years.
Ooh.
After funding for treatment was lost, the study was continued without informing the men that they would never be treated. None of the infected men were treated with penicillin, despite the fact that by 1947, the antibiotic was widely available and had become the standard treatment for syphilis. The study continued under numerous public health service supervisors until 1972, when a leak to the press resulted in its termination on November 16th of that year. By then, 28 patients had died directly from syphilis, 100 died from complications related to syphilis, 40 of the patients' wives were infected with syphilis, and 19 children were born with congenital syphilis.
Fuck. Yeah, I know. Humans are so awful to each other, man. I just can't stand this one. This, by the way, is a crowdsourced topic. Y'all wanted to hear this, so here it is. The 40-year Tuskegee study was a major violation of ethical standards in blue. I always love it when there's blue because I can do this, right? It's ethical standards.
Yeah, what's the definition?
It says here, it sends a link to medical ethics. Which is not exactly ethical standards, but medical ethics is applied to a branch of ethics which analyzes and practices clinical medicine and related to science research. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, it's medical ethical standards.
Yeah.
So it links you to the relative ethical standard.
Again, I love the blue words. You can just click every blue word as you roll through Wikipedia. You just open a new page, and then boom, you got like a week's worth of school. It's amazing. And has been cited as arguably the most infamous biomedical research study in U.S. history. Its revelation led to the 1979 Belmont Report and to the establishment of the Office for Human Research Protections, the OHRP, and the federal laws and regulations requiring institute review boards for the protection of human subjects in study. The OHRP manages the responsibility within the United States Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, which is really interesting. The acronym's so short for so many words. Its revelation has also been an important cause to the distrust of medical science and the U.S. government amongst African Americans. On May 16th, 1997, President Bill Clinton, I did not, formally apologized on behalf of the United States to victims of the study, calling it shameful and racist. What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence, he said. We can stop turning our heads away, and we can look at you I can't do his voice, in the eye, and finally say, on behalf of American people, what the United States government did was shameful, and I am sorry, and I did not have sex with that woman.
What was done cannot be undone, but we can end the silence.
Yeah. And
fucking Bill Clinton.
Also, can we talk about the Belmont report and its connections to Castlevania? Yeah. There you are, guys. So that's the introduction. How does this make you feel, Mr. Stanley?
Man, all of this shit is just revolting.
Yeah.
Like there was a group of people in these. They're not even a small group. Because it was through two different organizations, Public Health Service and the CDC. And these people collaborated and gathered funding to perform completely terrible, monstrous human experiments by just letting people suffer for 4 decades.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, and sad and hurtful. And also a crime. It's a crime. It's clearly a crime.
Yeah.
Where's the crime? Who's going to guard the guards? Who's going to guard the guards, man?
Well, like, who's going to, like, how were none of these people made accountable for their action? Like, none of these scientists, as far as I've ever seen or read, have suffered any sort of consequences.
No, I know, and
it's
the kind of thing too that like everyone's heard about this study at some point, but then you don't really even think twice about it until you, I don't know, whatever, have a podcast where you have to like dive deep or whatever, but or it comes up as a subject of study in school. But overall, things like this and like the breach of ethical standards of medicine, they're not often talked about, in the general public at all, right? I think that's there's a something to be thought of right there, Mr. Man Dude. Like, how do we hold scientists accountable for this stuff? This actually happened with Paperclip too, right? Like, we took Nazi scientists and we're like, no, it's good, man. Just come work for us.
Right.
Yeah. No jail for you.
What was the word again? Was it unrepentant Nazis or
unreconstructed?
Unreconstructed. That's what it was.
What
oh my
the
god!
Fuck was that? It's so mind blowing. Yeah, unreconstructed
like
Nazi. I called it right away. I was like, "What is that? Is he just a Nazi?" And then it was
100%.
It's just 100.
He's just a Nazi.
Oh my god.
Okay.
There's a bunch of unreconstructed scientists right here. Yeah, a bunch of
unreconstructed racist scientists.
I was about to say a bunch of unreconstructed racists up in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're gonna actually. So if you're a follower of this podcast, you are officially an unreconstructed subscriber.
Terrible.
Yeah, I know, it's awful. Okay, so we'll dive into the history a bit, I guess. That's kind of the next section here on the wiki.
Love study details.
Yeah. In 1928, the Oslo study of untreated syphilis had reported on the pathological manifestations of untreated syphilis in hundreds of white males. This study was a retrospective study since the investigators pieced together information from the histories of patients who had already contracted syphilis but remained untreated for some time. The U.S. Public Health Service syphilis study at Tuskegee, I want to call it Tuskegee, group decided to build on the Oslo work and perform a prospective study to complement it. The U.S. Public Health Service syphilis study at Tuskegee began as a 6-month descriptive epidemiological study of the range of pathology associated with syphilis in the population of Macon County. The researchers involved in the study reasoned that they were not harming the men involved in the study under the presumption that they were unlikely to ever receive treatment at that time. It was believed that the effects of the syphilis depended on the race of those affected. Physicians believed that syphilis had more pronounced effect on African Americans' cardiovascular system than on their central nervous system. We'll see about the efficacy of those theories in a moment. And while we're here, I'm just going to pull a picture of racists onto my podcast screen here. Look at this, dude. I know you can't see Mr. Stanley, but you can see it's on the right of that little section of Wikipedia. Look at that racist scientist.
Subject blood draw.
Why do all these bad guys have huge foreheads? And I don't like that because I don't want to be one of them. My forehead's massive.
He's a wee bit overweight.
Ah, yes.
He's actually got big forearms. Look at that, man. He's a husky boy.
Yeah, for sure. That's from all the speed. I don't know. I bet he's a domestic abuser. I don't like him. I don't like him because his picture's associated with this wiki article.
All right. So investigators enrolled in the study a total of 600 impoverished African American sharecroppers. Of these men, we already read this, didn't we? 399
kind of.
Civilians by control group 201 were not infected. As an incentive for participation in the study, the men were promised free medical care but were deceived by the PHS, who never informed subjects of their diagnosis despite the risk of infecting others and the fact that the disease could lead to blindness, deafness, mental illness, heart disease, bone deterioration, the collapse of the central nervous system,
and death.
After all of that, you also might die.
Yeah, that we just turned into an infomercial really quickly there.
Holy fuck. I should have read those off quicker.
Yeah. Wait, how would you do that? How would you do that? You would be like,
these can lead to blindness, mental illness, heart disease, bone deterioration, the collapse of the central nervous system, and death.
If you have experienced any of these symptoms, contact your doctor immediately. Hello? Yes, doctor? Yeah, I seem to have died.
I'm blind and maybe deaf. Can you help me?
It is a miracle I even found the phone.
The blind guys. I'm sorry, Stanley. Yeah, no, it's a very serious topic, guys. Jokes are the way that we deal with the difficult things in the world. I believe you're at Instead, Mr. Stanley.
That is extremely loud.
At the Death 7, 8, 9, 10. What's extremely loud? What'd you do?
Sorry, I was playing Valheim beside me.
Oh, fantastic.
All right, so instead, the men were told that they were being treated for bad blood, a colloquialism that described various conditions such as syphilis, anemia, and fatigue. The collection of illnesses the term included was a leading cause of death within the Southern African American community. At the study's commencement, major medical textbooks had recommended that all syphilis be treated, as the consequences were quite severe. At that time, treatment included treatment with arsenic-based compounds such as arsphenamine, branded as the 606 formula. I'm going to pop open and see what the fuck we'll do that after, actually. Initially, subjects were studied for 6 to 8 months and then treated with contemporary methods, including salvarsan, mercurial ointments, and bismuth, which were mildly effective and highly toxic. Additionally, men in the study were administered disguised placebos, ineffective methods, and diagnostic procedures, which were misrepresented as treatments for syphilis and or bad blood.
Right.
So what's arsphenamine?
Arsphenamine, also known as salvarsan or compound 606, is a drug that was introduced in the beginning of the 1910s as the first treatment for syphilis and for African trypanosomiasis. Somiasis, yeah. As also known as African sleeping sickness or simply sleeping sickness. It's an insect-borne parasitic infection of the human body and other animals. It is caused by the species humans are infected by two types, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, those are parasitic infections, which makes sense that you would treat it with arsenic, right? Because, like, maybe they die first. That's, I guess, the hope, right? It's poisonous.
Well, yeah, this organo-arsenic compound was the first modern antimicrobial agent. So, yeah, there you go. Antimicrobe, so it's... Jesus, it just kills things.
Yeah, I mean, it's arsenic, man. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, it's one of the biggest poisons we know of. Hurrah!
Yeah. So, but that's for bad blood. Bad blood? Here, take some of this fancy here arsenic. They call it arsenic. Yeah.
All right.
Throughout participants remained ignorant of the study's clinicians' true purpose. Which was to observe the natural course of untreated syphilis. Study clinicians could have chosen to treat all syphilitic subjects and close the study or split off a control group for testing with penicillin. Instead, they continued to study without treating any participants. They withheld treatment and information about penicillin from the subjects. In addition, scientists prevented participants from accessing syphilis treatments programs available to other residents in the area. The researchers reasoned that the knowledge gained would benefit humankind. However, it was determined afterward that the doctors did harm their subjects by depriving them of appropriate treatment once it had been discovered. The study was characterized by the longest non-therapeutic experiment on human beings in medical history. Science! The victims of the study included numerous men who died of syphilis, 50 wives who contracted the disease, and 19 children born with congenital syphilis. To ensure that... Yeah, Wait, what? 19... 40 wives. What did you say? You're interrupting me. I forgot.
You said 50.
Did I say?
Yeah.
Well, there was probably 50, and they're just racist. They didn't count 10.
Also entirely possible. But we're going with 40.
Sam the narcissist. I can't be wrong. Shut up. To ensure that the men would show up for the possibly dangerous, painful diagnostic and non-therapeutic spinal taps, the doctors sent participants a misleading letter titled "Last Chance for Special Free Treatment." Oh my God, it's disgusting. That's revolting. I literally want to strangle the person who wrote that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's like fucking clickbait, but for the 30s.
Yeah. The U.S. Public Health Service syphilis study at Tuskegee published its first clinical data in 1934, issued its first major report in 1936. This was before the discovery of penicillin as a safe and effective treatment for syphilis. The study was not secret since reports and data were published to the medical community throughout its duration.
So everyone was aware of this, that this is just untreated. Well, at the time of those publications, there wasn't any...
In 34, they're publishing this stuff. They're like, yeah, so we're just...
well, they're also... At the time, remember, there wasn't any real treatment for it. They gave people like antimicrobials, which would potentially kill them before it got rid of the syphilis.
Yeah.
So they were just kind of monitoring the effects. So between 34 and 36, they were publishing results of these experiments, these ongoing experiments. Although... The whole part of misleading the subjects on what's actually going on is the fucked up part there. Like they're doing widely acknowledged medical experiments on these people, but the participants of the study don't know that they're part of a fucking experiment.
Yeah, or have
that
civil
is
rights.
beyond the pale unethical.
Yeah.
By modern standards. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah, they had no civil rights back then.
Fuck.
Yeah, second-class citizens. It's just literally... I know, yeah. And like this is human nature, man. Like if it's just the normal in your society and you accept it and you don't even think twice about it, regardless of how educated you are, you're not taking the moral high ground just because you participate in scholarly activities.
Yeah.
No, not even close, man. You actually have to pay attention to your behavior and like act appropriately, make decisions, be your own person, even be revolutionary.
If you're just pursuing the science, the ends don't always justify the means, and in this case they fucking totally didn't, considering after they found penicillin they kept the experiments ongoing. So revolting. Oh my God, I've got like a headache just from thinking about this.
I know.
All right. The U.S. Public Health Service syphilis study at Tuskegee published its first clinical data. All right, you already read that part. Right. During World War II,
that's the one.
256 of the infected subjects registered for the draft and were consequently diagnosed as having syphilis at military induction centers and ordered to obtain treatment for syphilis before they could be taken into the armed services. PHS researchers prevented these men from getting treatment, thus depriving them of chances for a cure. Von der Leer argued, "This study is of great importance from a scientific standpoint. It represents one of the last opportunities which the science of medicine will have to conduct an investigation of this kind." Oh, my webcam crashed a bit. Study Dr. Murray Smith, so Dr. Smith, asked that these men be excluded from the list of draftees needing treatment in order to make it possible to continue this study on an effective basis. Also, yeah, see, there's the loss of definition in the camera as soon as it crashed because it overheated because my phone hates... It's not even that hot. I don't know.
What kind of phone do you have?
It's a Google Pixel 5. You'd think it would be better than this.
I mean, the app is truly unruly. Also, doesn't want to be deleted from my computer. True story. I know, mighty suspicious. Not only that, it's the exe file that doesn't want to go away.
That's really weird.
That's super. That's Well, I mean, I don't
What
know.
have you roped me into, Samuel?
Well, I don't know.
Okay,
You got to give
I
a
will,
lot
like,
of permissions to
sponge
let a
this.
thing like attach to your computer and then go to your Wi-Fi and then from your Wi-Fi to another thing that's going to the Wi-Fi. Like it's being connected through a cloud, right? So you got to give a lot of permissions away. But I guarantee the permissions that you give to Irion are nothing compared to the permissions you give to like Facebook or Amazon or like even Google when you take their phone.
I have a thing that disables my sensors. Like I actually have to turn off a thing in order to do this because my camera doesn't even run if I have that sensor thing disabled. So like my microphone doesn't work at all. Nothing works on my phone if I don't turn off that little app.
Well, me, I give everything away for free. I'm a content creator. My everything is out there for the world to see. Expose me. Except for those pictures I sent when I was too young to think better. Please don't.
Don't think about those.
Yeah, please don't. Nope.
All right. Where was I? In order to make it possible to continue the study. Later, Smith, a local PHS representative involved in the study, wrote to von der Leer asking what should be done with the patients who had tested negative for syphilis at the time of enrollment in the study and were being used as control subjects, but had later tested positive when registering for the draft. So far, we are keeping the known positive patients from getting treatment. Is a control case of any value to the study if he has contracted syphilis? Shall we withhold treatment from the control case who has developed syphilis? Von der Leer replied that such cases have lost their value to the study. There is no reason why these patients should not be given appropriate treatment unless you hear from Dr. Austin V. Dibert, who is in direct charge of the study. By 1947, penicillin had become standard therapy for syphilis. The U.S. government sponsored several public health programs to form rapid treatment centers to eradicate the disease. When campaigns to eradicate venereal disease came to Macon County, study researchers prevented their subjects from participating. Although some of the men in the study received arsenical or penicillin treatments elsewhere, for most of them this did not amount to adequate therapy. By the end of the study in 1972, only 74 of the test subjects were still alive.
Out of hundreds.
Of the original 399 men, 28 had died of syphilis.
Right, which is probably 500. Like it wasn't 40 women, it was 50.
I feel like the numbers are probably well recorded in this case, but still it's a bad. 19 children were born with congenital syphilis. Like, fuck.
This is a conspiracy podcast. There had to be more.
Yeah.
There had to be more.
The revelation, I mean, the number that exists is bad enough. I don't know.
Yeah, I know. It's, yeah. That's hundreds.
The revelation in 1972 of study failures by whistleblower Peter Buxton led to major changes in U.S. law and regulation concerning the protection of participants in clinical studies. Studies now require informed consent. Hey, I mentioned that before. Communication of diagnosis and accurate reporting of test results.
Yep.
More bureaucracy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Amazing stuff.
So only after somebody abused the system horribly did we ever create bureaucracy to prevent such a thing from happening.
1 second. We're bringing it back, guys. Look at this dude and his huge forehead. I do not like him. I hate him. I dislike him.
Oh, it's the same guy, but in color.
Yeah. Well, later, I'm assuming.
Yeah. What a cunt.
Yeah. What a see you next Tuesday. What, me? No, I speak well. I'm a very polite young man. Don't you laugh at me, Mr. Stanley.
Oh, I will. I work with you, Samuel. I've worked with you. I guess I haven't worked with you for about 3 months. But... This
one's I'm gonna warn you all about like crazy, stupid humor. But so my joke today, made it up all on my own, and it involves a silly voice. I feel like silly voices always add to a joke, you know. So I went to work today, and I was walking up to people, and I was like, I tried this fantastic new sandwich on the weekend. It's a Japanese sandwich. They call it bukkake. And that's it. That's a whole joke. And like people were like losing, except for Ron. Ron's like, okay, and what about this sandwich? I was like, oh, so you don't know what bukkake is? And he's like, no. And I was like, well, don't Google it. Whatever you do.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
How does Ron not know that? He seems like he would know what that is.
I bet he knows what it is and doesn't want us to know what
He's just playing dumb.
Yeah. He's like, I've never seen those videos in my life.
Fucking Ron.
Yeah, or he could just legitimately.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, he could be a scrupulous fellow, man.
It's entirely possible. He does seem pretty high strung. Like, I don't know.
I think he's probably too intelligent for his job. I think that's what it is. I think he seems like a man possessed of a high IQ. not exactly stressed out, but definitely socially awkward. I'd peg him as a strong introvert for sure. Like,
yeah,
likes to
very
keep to
much
himself.
so.
Yeah.
He is not great at the interactions.
No, but at the same time, he's cordial. He's very polite. He's a decent sense of humor.
I think he has a great sense of humor. Some of his responses over the radio were fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting very sidetracked now.
No, we are. But
I've had a drink, so I don't even think about it.
I know, but we have to get a little sidetracked for this one. This is a tough one to get into, guys.
Yeah, I know. Honestly, this is just paining me mentally.
It's not as much fun. No one's getting pushed out of windows. The CIA is not involved.
It's just some fucking medical assholes who decided to abuse 400 fucking people.
It's 100% appropriate for a conspiracy podcast, though, because these guys literally conspired to ruin 400 people's lives, killed most of them. And
well, yeah, at least a third of them, or a quarter of them. No, about a third, because there's like 150 all told.
Yeah.
Straight up casualties due to syphilis. Like.
Yeah. But I wonder how many.
The one that really blows my mind.
I wonder how many of the other deaths, though, that were probably associated with having advanced stages of syphilis associated with their death.
So they just passed off as non-related.
Yeah. Like, the poor guy died of a cough. You know, he died of lack of snake oil in his diet, man.
But so they're about to get drafted for the military to fight in World War fucking II, and the military tells them, "Oh, you have syphilis." Well, it might even not tell them. It tells medical professionals these men have syphilis. They need to go get treatment. And then the guys holding the study literally tell everyone else involved that no, these men will be exempt from any sort of treatment because they're a part of our study. What the fuck?
Yeah. It just destroys my faith in humanity. But I think we have to maintain a faith in humanity. I think it's important for the future. You know, because
I mean, there are good people and bad people everywhere. Like, there's no you can't have like a blind faith in humanity because humanity will fail.
Yeah, I mean, humans
all the time.
All humans basically just model data, right? So if you expose them to certain like substrates, then they amplify that. It is a good way to think about it, right? Because you're just like a meat computer that's running a software of self, and that self is 100% pliable. And it's not even the only one. There's subroutines inside your psyche that are just doing stuff.
Yeah, that you don't know about consciously.
Yeah, if you like catch yourself with your finger up your nose, right? You're like, right? You're not even thinking about it. You're just picking your nose, right? That's a subroutine.
Okay. That one doesn't apply to me because I just pick my nose regardless because it's easy.
Yeah, me too. I don't even. It's so shameless now that I'm getting older too. I'll be right in front of someone like, "Can you?" Just be like, especially construction.
Man. Like turn my head and just fucking.
Yeah, dude. You get all kinds of nasty stuff in your nose in construction, and like I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not touching anything.
I'm not gonna go and find a fucking tissue to blow my nose every goddamn time. Like I'm not gonna walk away from the machine for 5 minutes to go find a tissue. I'm sorry.
I mean, a lot of guys got it going with that. You know,
I can't do that.
No, my nose is not made for it, man. I've tried before, and it's just like, like all over your face. And you're like, game over, man.
All over my fucking mustache and facial hair. I'm like,
what I always think,
I need to go find something to wash my face because that's disgusting.
I don't think my septum's made for it. I think it's always hugging one side or something.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I've never been able to pull off snot rockets.
Yeah, welcome to the Conspiracy Podcast, where we talk about everything but conspiracies, but
everything but conspiracies.
But where I was 100%. But where I was going with that though is like because you just like model data and you do it really poorly, by the way. But like what you have to do is surround yourself with the data that you actually find relevant and helpful towards the future, and then like do that. Like think about it like with growing up and creating a healthy life as an adult, right? You start off really bad at it, but super stoked to be doing it. And then you kind of just make a lot of mistakes for a few years, and then you slowly start learning better things. And part of what happens is you kind of segue from being really bad at something to exposing yourself to all this knowledge about how to do things right in life, like saving and budgeting and opening bank accounts and managing your credit debts and careers, and then like motivation and then education and entertainment. And you start coming up with these balances. And then basically you go like all the way full circle until you're just a giant child. And I mean, that's kind of where you want to be as an adult. I'm terrible. Don't listen to my life advice. I'm not quite there yet. I'm going to launch into the study clinicians here section of the wiki because spend a lot of time talking about all the other stuff. The
Take it
venereal
away,
disease
Samuel.
section of the U.S. Public Health Service formed a group study in 1932 at its national headquarters in Washington, D.C. Taliaferro Clark, head of the USPHS. So sometimes they're using just PHS and sometimes they're using USPHS, but that's just the Public Health Service. So head of the USPHS is credited with founding it. His initial goal, by the way, his name's not blue, so they don't want you even looking at this guy. His initial goal was to follow untreated syphilis in a group of African American men for 6 months to 1 year, and then follow up with a treatment phase. When Rosenwald Fund withdrew its financial support, a treatment program was deemed too expensive. Oh my God. This whole thing was just a cover up for him, like not being able to afford treating them. He's like, well, might as well just change the study and be like, what happens if we don't do anything?
Wow.
Yeah, that's okay. Okay, so Clark, however, decided to continue the study, interested in determining whether syphilis had a different effect on African Americans than it did on Caucasians, which is obviously fucking bullshit. You're made out of the exact same parts, man.
Yeah.
Regressive study.
This is just racist people trying to prove that there is some sort of fucking difference despite there not being one.
No, I'm like a chimpanzee and he's like a gorilla. No, you're like a fucking retard and he's like a normal human.
Yeah, you're a fucking piece of shit, and they're just people that you're abusing. Yeah.
Also, part of my language. I don't mean to use the hard R word like that. What do you call this? That guy's a dick. That's a better word. Okay, game over. Now that I've drawn all the attention to it, let's move on. A regressive study of untreated syphilis in the white males had been conducted in Oslo, Norway, and could provide the basis for comparison. But that's all they have in Oslo. They just got a bunch of white people. It's too cold. It's like northern Canada.
But so they were doing a sister experiment essentially in Europe. So they were probably comparing notes just to see, exactly, provide a basis for comparison. Just to see
it had been conducted in Oslo. So this is like before that one. So like this guy, it doesn't sound like that. It sounds like this study had been done already on syphilis, and so they did a follow up, but only on black people. But I highly doubt that the one that they did. I doubt that the one they did in Oslo was actually like, let's see if it affects white people differently than anyone else. This is just all they had was white people.
Yeah.
The prevailing belief at the time was that white people were more likely to develop neurosyphilis than black people were more likely to sustain cardiovascular damage. The Clark design resigned before the study was extended beyond its original length. Oh.
So the initial dude that was holding the experiment.
So Taliaferro Clark, but it says here that his initial goal was to follow up 6 months, 1 year, then follow up with treatment. Clark, however, decided the study, interested in determining whether syphilis had different effects. Okay, so he didn't actually extend it. Good to know. Slightly redeemed in my books, Mr. Clark. Well played. Although Clark is usually assigned blame for the conceiving of the U.S. Public Health Service syphilis study at Tuskegee, Thomas Perrin Jr. is equally, if not more, deserving, and that dude's name is blue. So, quick. Thomas Perrin was an American physician at the Public Health Service officer. He was appointed the 6th Surgeon General of the United States from 1936 to 1948 and oversaw notorious Tuskegee syphilis experiments and Guatemala syphilis experiments, which I'm sure is the same thing on Mexicans. Is equally, if not more, deserving of originating the notion of non-treatment study in Macon County, Alabama, as the Health Commissioner of New York and a former head of PHS Venereal Disease Division. Perrin was asked by Rosenwald Fund to assess their serological? That word looks wrong to me, but I'm just, whatever. Serological survey of syphilis and demonstration projects in 5 southern states. Among his conclusions was the recommendation that if one wished to study the natural history of syphilis in the African American race, uninfluenced by treatment, this county would be an ideal location for such a study. Oliver C. Wagner was the director of the regional... Wanger. He sees wangers. Oliver sees wangers. That guy had a tough childhood. The director of Regional PHS Venereal Disease Clinic in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which, by the way, is spelled like Arkansas, but they don't call it Arkansas. They call it Arkansas, but they call Arkansas people Arkansans. True story. He and his staff took the lead on developing the study procedures. Wagner continued to advise and assist the study when it was adapted as a long-term, no-treatment observational study after funding for treatment was lost. Raymond A. Vondelier? Yeah. A pre-constructed Nazi. That's what I'm going to call. Okay, that's not on the wiki, guys. That's me just rambling. Raymond A. Vondelier was appointed on-site director of the research program and developed the policies that shaped the long-term follow-up section of the project. His methods of gaining consent from the subjects for spinal taps to look for signs of neurosyphilis was by advertising the diagnostic test as a special free treatment. Also, he met with local black doctors and asked them to deny treatment to participants in the Tuskegee study. Vondelier retired as a head of venereal disease section in 1943, shortly after penicillin was proven to cure syphilis. Several African-American health workers and educators associated with the Tuskegee Institute played a crucial role in the study's progress. The extent to which they knew about the full scope of this study is not clear in all cases. Robert Russo-Moton, the president of Tuskegee Institute, and Eugene Dibble.
Wow, that's a name.
Was he a doctor? A Dr. Dibble here.
Eugene Harriet Dibble Jr. was an American physician and head of the John A. Andrew Memorial Hospital.
Dr. Dibble. Okay.
Amazing.
Oh my god. Head of Institute of John A. Andrews Memorial Hospital both lent their endorsement and institutional resources to the doctor.
This man is evil. He's pure evil.
Oh, 100%.
But his name is so fucking silly.
Hello, it is I, Dibble.
Even in his wiki, role in Tuskegee, it says Dr. Dibble was head of the.
Oh my god, his name's Eugene, so that means that his nickname's Lou. So he's Lou Dibble. Lou Dibble.
Laudable?
Laudable? Lou Dibble. I'm Lou Dibble, a laudable person if I do say so myself, and I do say so myself. Nurse Eunice Rivers. Now, I've never seen that name before. Eunice. That's unique. I like it.
Really? You've never seen?
Never. Not once. And I've read a lot of books, so I don't know. Eunice Rivers, who had trained at Tuskegee Institute and worked at its hospital, was recruited at the start of the study to be a main point of contact with the participants. River played a crucial role in the study because she served as a direct link to the regional African American community. Vondelier considered her participation to be the key to gaining trust of the subjects and promoting their participation. So she's a piece of shit.
Holy fuck.
It sounds
like there were a lot of people. There were a bunch of local black doctors that were refusing these people treatment in the name of this study too.
Yeah, but I mean, like, yeah, I'm sure that...
I'm pretty sure all of them knew that this was unethical to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does say that it's like, the extent to which they knew about the full scope of the study is not clear in all cases.
Yeah. Just because they decided
they
to
were
go
refusing treatment to people that needed treatment.
Yeah,
that in and of itself is pretty fucking shitty.
Well, I mean, just because the black doctors decided to go all Uncle Ruckus on us doesn't mean that they're free of racism, right? Yeah. It's clearly discrimination, right?
Just
am I a genius or I could be super dumb? I don't know. Boom. As part of Miss Rivers Lodge, participants would receive free physical examinations at the Tuskegee University, free rides to and from the clinic, hot meals on examination days, and free treatment for minor ailments. Rivers was also key in convincing families to sign autopsy agreements in return for funeral benefits. As the study became long-term, Rivers became the chief person who provided continuity to the participants. She was the only study staff person to work with the participants for the full 40 years. So she knew that whole time? Or did she just work with them?
Yeah.
And it also kind of sounds like she might have just been a caretaker. Like she was
I
just
want to
taking
put
care
some
of them.
context onto what kind of social class these people were.
She was recruited at the start of the main point of contact with the. So she was like recruited. So she might not actually have had knowledge of the study that was going on. Okay, you're saying
so
sorry.
The subjects. I want to put some more just definition to the term sharecroppers because we've seen it pop up a couple of times and it's describing all of the subjects, all fucking 400 of them were sharecroppers. So let's see what that means.
One second, Stanley. There's a picture of Mr. Dibble here. Like,
is there?
There is indeed. Look at Mr. Dibble. Okay.
Or Winger, Buxton. Oh, Eugene Dibble. He does look like a Eugene.
He looks like a Dibble.
He's got fucking jowls.
Oh my god, when he was young. Oh my god, he's the only dude with hair though. Okay, I'm done. Sorry.
Raymond A. Vonderlehr. Jesus, what a... Ugh. Anyway, so sharecropping. Sharecropping is a legal arrangement with regard to agricultural land in which a landowner allows a tenant to use the land in return for a share of the crops produced on that land. Sharecropping has a long history, and there are a wide range of different situations and types of agreements that have been used that have used a form of the system. Some are governed by tradition and others by law. So sharecropping has benefits and costs for both the owner and the tenant. So essentially they got to work this land and make crops and harvest them and distribute them. But the landowner was leasing the land to them so that they could also give them like a kickback, essentially, based on the profits they made from their crops. So these are like a more complicated version of, let's say, medieval serfs almost. Like we're moving forward to more modern farming.
Yeah.
But these are still people that are being granted land to work where they then have to pay the person granting them the land. It's a weird arrangement. This is a very strange thing that I was not familiar with at all.
Totally.
But so
it's like,
for anyone who didn't know what sharecropping is, that's what these people were. These 400 subjects in this experiment were all sharecroppers.
Yeah, so they're workers that pay you to work.
Pretty much, yep.
Do we do that?
They pay you to give them a job.
Yeah.
There's probably some systems in which that's a thing.
I mean, I suppose it's a form of investment at the time, depending on how far in society you're able to like move.
But it sounds similar to like a mortgage, but you're not getting anything out of it.
Well,
so it is you're being leased the land, and you just have to keep making like lease payments essentially.
But then you're allowed to farm there, and I'm assuming you can sell those products at market.
Well, exactly. That's the thing is they do all the work, so they get the farming produce, and they sell that produce, and the person leasing them the land to work gets a share of that profit.
Good. This is how McDonald's works.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's how a lot of these fucking things. Oh my god.
It never went away. By the way, if you work for McDonald's, you're a slave. You're a sharecropper. Crop sharer. A sharecropper?
That's really fucking weird.
What an astute observation, Samuel. No, please. Keep your praise to yourself.
It just got adopted into like modern business in a really backward... That's fucking strange as hell. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So these people were like poor farmers that were just being manipulated by medical staff.
Yeah, I'm assuming that would also be like more like the typical farmer at that time anyways, right? Land has always been expensive. And
unless you were an old family, an old blood white farmer who had massive amounts of ranch land and farmland to begin with.
Yep, exactly. And then also like, I mean, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, because there's a lot of super rich people, but there was like a time just right during this, like during the last century or whatever, that like all properties and everything became so abundant and you were actually able to like buy land, you know? So for a long period of human history, like being able to own your own little section of land, even like just a small piece that you could put a garden in, it was really difficult to procure. You had to live in just a different type of society. Lots of people worked for fiefdoms and estates and stuff like that, right? And all these massive farms, and they just had like a little piece of the pie. But I would assume that a lot of farming back then was like this sharecropping idea, right? And then everybody died and money became abundant and we came up with like reserve systems and blah blah blah, and then boom, here we are. Now everyone can own a little piece of land, and the Farmers Association of Canada will give you a loan just to buy a bunch of land because now no one wants it. Everyone wants to live in the concrete jungle. Okay, so we are coming up, folks, to possibly the best part.
Study termination?
That's the termination of the study, yeah. Mr. Stanley, take it away.
Several men employed by the PHS, namely Austin V. Dibert and Albert P. Iskrant, we haven't seen his name yet. It's also not blue, so you can't find out who he is.
Yeah.
You can probably look it up. Expressed criticism of the study. Oh, he sounds like a good person. On the grounds of immorality and poor scientific practice. I like these two already. The first dissenter against the study, who was not involved in the PHS, was Count Gibson, an associate professor at the Medical College of Virginia in Richmond. He expressed his ethical concerns to PHS's Sidney Olansky in 1955. So we're already 23 years into the experiment, and somebody looks at it and is like, this isn't right.
Yeah, well,
Wow.
it's in the 50s. We're talking like post-World War II here at this time, right?
Oh, yeah. Very much. 10 years post.
Right? So they're like, hey, I think I've seen stuff like this. That one guy they hired at NASA.
Fuck.
Werner von
Another,
Braun?
yeah,
Werner
another
von
dissenter.
Dude,
was-
we gotta do... Sorry, quick aside, everyone. We have to do Operation Paperclip.
Yeah, that's gonna come. That should be the next. Let's do that next week. Boom.
By next week, you mean probably a few days from now.
Maybe. Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess we'll do a quick dump of a whole bunch since we missed a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's a Thanksgiving weekend, so I doubt we'll get it in. So we could just record it before that maybe, and then I'll edit it throughout there and try and post by Sunday.
If you have a free evening this weekend, this week, we will do that. Anyway,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
continuing. Another dissenter was Irwin Schatz, a young Chicago doctor only 4 years out of medical school. In 1965, Schatz read an article about the study in a medical journal and wrote a letter directly to the study's authors confronting them with a declaration of brazen unethical practice. His letter, read by Ann R. Yobbs, one of the study's authors, was immediately ignored and filed away with a brief memo that no reply would be sent.
Oof. Well,
In
good on you for trying,
1966.
Mr. Schatz.
Yeah, I mean, he made an honest effort, unfortunately, for him. In 1966, Peter Buxton, a PHS venereal disease investigator in San Francisco, sent a letter to the national director of the Division of Venereal Diseases
This is
expressing his
11
concerns.
years after Schatz. Or no, so there's a year
No,
after
this is-
Schatz. Is it
yeah,
11
only a
years
year.
after Sidney Olansky?
Yeah, the two guys, Austin V. Dibert and Albert
Gibson?
P. Iskrant, and Count Gibson,
Yeah.
all expressed concern about the lack of ethics involved in the study. So 11 years later now, so these guys have been just like hammering away any sort of criticism of their study. They've just been like throwing it under the rug and saying, nope, doesn't matter. They just kept doing what they were doing. No response, no nothing. Just going like radio silent.
So
And
this
I
is
guess
the thing
nobody-
too about like their published research and stuff like that. Count Dillon Gibson Jr. was an American physician known for his advocacy in medical civil rights. As a young professor at the Medical College of Virginia in 1955, he became the first person outside of the Tuskegee syphilis experiments to raise ethical objections to the study. So like this is like I was saying, man, it's like all of the scientific community and medical community more like, but the medical community was just turning a blind eye to this because these guys, right? They're educated, so they read the papers, they read the studies, and like no one said anything. It's just so deplorable.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Well, how many people though at the time didn't think that the studies were still like ongoing? They'd read a paper that was submitted and published like maybe 5 or 6 years prior, and like, oh, this is really fucking weird.
Well, I'm assuming it had to be like credibly published or whatever, right? So it would probably be noted that it's an ongoing study, and then that they're studying the
Actually, yeah,
effects of
I guess.
untreated syphilis at this point, right? Because after the first 6 months, that was what the study became. So they would be writing it the whole time. I'm sure they were still held to a
everyone in the
scholarly
medical
standard.
community that was aware of this study, yeah, was just kind of letting it happen without saying anything.
They're just like, that's crazy. It's not how we do it here in Boston.
Yeah. All right. So in 1966, is that where I am? Peter
Yep.
Buxton, a PHS venereal disease investigator in San Francisco, sent a letter to the national director of the Division of Venereal Diseases, expressing his concerns about the ethics and morality of the extended U.S. Public Health Service syphilis study at Tuskegee. That's a fucking mouthful. The CDC, which by then controlled the study, reaffirmed the need to continue the study until completion, i.e., until all subjects had died and been autopsied. What the fuck?
Why?
To bolster its position, the CDC received unequivocal support for the continuation of the study, both from local chapters of the National Medical Association, representing African American physicians, and the American Medical Association. In 1968, William Carter Jenkins, an African American statistician in the PHS and part of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, founded and edited The Drum, a newsletter devoted to ending racial discrimination in HEW. In The Drum, Jenkins called for an end to the study. He did not succeed. It is not clear who read his work. Buxton finally went to the press in the early 1970s. The story broke first in the Washington Star on July 25th, 1972.
Yep.
Reported by Gene Heller of the Associated Press, it became front-page news in the New York Times the following day.
Yep.
Senator Edward Kennedy called congressional hearings at which Buxton and HEW officials testified. As a result of public outcry, the CDC and PHS appointed an ad hoc advisory panel to review the study. The panel found that the men agreed to certain terms of the experiment, such as examination and treatment. However, they were not informed of the study's actual purpose. The panel then determined that the study was medically unjustified and ordered its termination. In 1974, as part of the settlement of a class action lawsuit filed by the NAACP on behalf of study participants and their descendants, the U.S. government paid $10 million, $51.8 million in 2019, and agreed to provide free medical treatment to surviving participants and surviving family members infected as a consequence of the study. Congress created a commission empowered to write regulations to deter such abuses from occurring in the future. Collection of materials compiled to investigate the study is held at the National Library of Medicine in Bethesda, Maryland. So once it was actually made public knowledge, that's a baby.
Yeah, my nephew's having a little wine.
So once somebody finally decided to go to the fucking press 20 years after the first person noticed this was a problem.
You know what it was?
Race.
So the class action lawsuit happened in 1974, right? When did MK Ultra begin? 73. So you know what that means? Everyone was doing LSD. Now they have an elevated level of consciousness and a sense of universal love, and they can't stand this stuff anymore. And it's being used in the medical community. Done at these universities. Boom! I'm the ultimate conspiracy theorist. Right? That's gotta be it.
I mean, like,
it's
honestly,
not unrelated. The dates line up. Come on.
That was a general.
But I mean, yeah, there was definitely a lot more LSD.
Public opinion.
Yeah, there was a ton of LSD in circulation then.
But again, like I said, that
74 was just not that long ago, man. That's the thing that gets me about everything we ever look into on this channel. It's that it just happened. It was like
7 years.
Yeah, it was like our grandfathers and our grandmothers and in some cases our parents. And
my dad.
Yeah.
My dad's fucking 65, I think.
Yeah.
Like, in his 70s, that was his fucking, like, his 20s.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Life is hard, man. Okay. We got a lot of other stuff we could get into here. It's been about an hour, so let's pick and choose. I highly recommend people look into this a bit on their own, or if you'd like for us to go into it in more depth, please feel free to let us know in that comments down below. We could make a part 2 for this one, certainly. But
yeah, there's a lot of material revolving around this.
But yeah, now we're going to skim and ruminate. That's the word? Ruminate? Ruminate?
Word of the day, ruminate.
Ruminate? Yeah, right? It's like ruminate. To ponder with class.
Mm-hmm. Right? You ruminate. I am ruminating as I swirl my drink and think.
Think deeply about something.
I'm ruminating on this subject. Yeah.
Also, goats ruminated nonchalantly around them because ruminate means to think deeply about something, but it also means to chew the cud. So that's the thing that cows and goats do.
Nice.
Yeah. word of the day, and you learned something about it. Also, colloquialism. That was another one that came up earlier in the whatever, the podcast. And that's a great word. I love the word colloquial. So colloquialism is a word or phrase that is not formally or typically one used in ordinary familiar conversation. So all y'all Z's watching this know exactly what we're talking about. That's half of the way you speak is through colloquialisms. It's true. It's true, 100%. Yeah. Right?
Modern language is becoming like thickly...
more and more colloquial. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we're far off from like those like Star Trek universal translators. I don't even think it'll be like...
No,
you'll just like hook your language center up to someone else's language center and just like have full-blown communication.
Honestly, man, there's like it's almost like a Creole or like random jargon, fucking whole new language created with just internet slang and fucking new age shit that makes no sense to some people. Honestly, I see terms that I have to go and look up because
totally.
like, what the fuck is this?
I found a meme the other day that was something that was like, I can't wait for Gen Zs to have kids, and then I tell them, oh, what was it? If something sounds too trill to be if something sounds just way too trill to be truth or something, that shit's cap. I'm missing but totally right. But then like half of the words were all words that I know, but they're just internet words, right? They're just colloquialisms of the modern age. I can't find the meme, nor am I doing it service. So there you go, guys. You're welcome for nothing. I didn't explain the meme at all, but it's fantastic. I'm sure you guys.
The word trill to me makes me think of a bird. You know, the bird like trills.
Yeah, I'll look it up in the Gen Z dictionary.
I don't know how. I can't trill.
Trill, Gen Z
I don't trill.
Dictionary.
Thank you, babe. I love you too.
Trill definition by.
Usually the trill is a higher pitch than what I tried to demonstrate.
We gotta look it up on Urban Dictionary. Urban.
To get the colloquial term for it, you mean?
Yeah, 100%.
The colloquial definition. Sorry, the term is trill.
Yeah,
but the colloquial definition is fucking different than what the actual definition of the word is.
Which it means exactly what it seems to imply in the meme, which is true and real. It's a combination of true and real. Trill.
So it's not even actually TRILL, or is it actually still spelled like that?
It's TRILL. Come on, man.
What the fuck?
It's true.
Why wouldn't they just...
You're dropping all of the vowels.
So just
now, what does it sound like?
Why not just do
drop all the vowels.
So if it's a combination of the two words, then just combine the two words.
No. It's got to be pronounced like you drop every noun, but you keep all the consonants, you mix them together, and then you add the vowel sound that you need to make the word flow off the tongue. Trill. TRRL. Trill.
So the point of this part of the podcast is just to say that we're fucking old, I guess. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Ugh. I read books. What the fuck is this?
Dude, I think Trill's pretty skits, so I think you can just calm down.
Why would you do this to me?
Okay. So
I'm so
overall,
white on top of being old. I'm white.
Yeah.
I'm white as fuck.
Why do you rich fucking white people always try to see the world's problems through the myopic lens of your own self-actualization?
That was a really, 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 really good and on point fucking comedy special. Holy shit. I feel like for anybody who hasn't seen it, go and see.
Yeah, go watch Bo Burnham's Inside. He's way better than watching us. I can't believe you're wasting your time watching us. But I'm going to leave you with all of my impressions about...
all of the time.
How's it go?
We're just contributing
to a
to...
Zoomer, send a death threat to a boomer, or DM a girl and groomer, and here's a healthy breakfast sandwich. You should kill your mom. Here's why women never fuck you. Here's how you can build a bomb.
Which Power Ranger are you? Take the squirky quiz. Obama sent the immigrants to vaccinate your kids.
Could I interest you in everything?
All of the time.
A little bit of everything. All of the time.
Apathy's a tragedy and boredom is a crime. Everything and anything, all of the time.
Not very long ago, Just before your time.
time, right before the towers fell, circa 99. This was Catalog's travel blog, a chat room or two. We set our sights and spent our night waiting for you. You. Insatiable you. Mommy let you use her iPad. You were barely 2. And it did all the things we designed it to do. Now look at you. Oh. Look at you. Okay, I'm getting overboard. Holy fuck, I love singing.
Unstoppable, watchable. Your time is
now. Your insides out. Honey, how you grew. And if we stick together, who knows what we'll do.
It was always the plan to put the world in your hands.
Maniacal.
Could I interest you in? Okay, so yeah. Anyways, now that we've wasted everyone's time, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Now that we've sung half of a Bo Burnham song.
Yeah, we're just awful people.
Watch Inside. It's so good.
Also, I love how good Stanley's got a good singer voice. I got a terrible singer voice, so that was a lot of fun. Thank you guys very much for watching. I am SamwellKrom on YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, probably everything else one day. Support me on Patreon, even though it doesn't exist. But maybe you're watching this in 5 years and it does. I don't know. What else could I say about this? Don't do drugs. Stay in school. Make sure you get a good education. Not just the. Don't forget the question medical efficacy. And Stanley, do you have anything to say?
Normal education is just indoctrination to prepare you for a 9-to-5 work week standard job. So it's a load of shit. Do a lot of your own learning outside of school, because school is literally, at this moment in time that we're making this video, school is literally just an indoctrination program to get you used to the standard work week. So
and pedagogically classist. Pedagogically classist.
Is that the word?
Yeah, the pedagogy to do with teaching.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. Look at the way that education spreads throughout different cultures, different sections of society, right? It's like you're going to get a completely different education if you live up in the hills of Hollywood than you are if you're going to live in like the Compton, hands down.
100%.
One school will have a metal detector. Like, it's where are your priorities? What are you teaching the civilization or the society that you're actually putting that institution in? Anyways, yeah, don't forget to question your teachers. The odd trip to the principal's office, not too bad. Every day, maybe a problem. You might want to look at what you're doing with your life. Yeah. You don't have anything you want to promote, right? You don't have any socials or anything yet, right?
Nothing as of yet.
You should make your own podcast, and then I can be guest yours. You can guest mine. Just trade back and forth.
What would I even make it about? I don't do anything. I play video games, man. I play video games, and I'm going to be going back to work soon.
Stanley's video game podcast.
Stanley's video game podcast. I know, if anything, I would do a stream of me doing stupid shit on video games.
Fantastic.
I should probably do that.
You
but
should.
I won't.
Yeah, okay. Well, there you go. I'll do it for you. How about that? Okay, guys. SamwellKrom, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. Don't forget to like the video. Hit us up with the comments. Let us know what you want to cover in the future videos. Also, subscribe. Hit that little bell. Make sure you get all the notifications. And don't ever trust a doctor named Dibble.